The world around us is hostile to the Word of God and to biblical values, but we are called to be salt and light, to stand for truth in a decaying culture. We are not called to run from the fire, but be willing to step into the fire. God has placed you at this time in history on purpose and for a purpose. Join us as we get better equipped to address civics and culture from a biblical worldview. Welcome to Into the Fire, powered by Dream City Church.
Today's topic is a look at state government, and I have with me Pamela Carter, who's a state representative from LD4 and a longtime friend of mine. I'm so glad to have you here today.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Debbie. I love Dream City Church. I love the work you do here. And actually, my church is Dream City North.
The Scottsdale,
Scottsdale
campus,
so.
yeah. I've seen you there, and yeah, it's great.
Well, I love what we're doing here. Civic engagement is so important for our voters and our constituents, our members.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, and it's really important, I think, within the church. So many people just don't understand how things work, and it can be really overwhelming. And so that's one of the things, really, that we wanted to talk about today about state government, because I feel like that, the national conversation tends to get the most press and the most conversation, and people forget that there are really important things that happen at the state level, which is where you work. We're going to talk about that in just a second, but before we do, just a general background, whatever you want to share about you personally, how long you've been in Arizona, how long you've been a Christian,
I'm 4 generations here. I'm a 4th generation Arizonan.
Wow.
My great-grandfather on my mom's side came over from Mexico to work in the copper mines.
Wow.
So I am half Latina on my mom's side, although I don't speak Spanish. I wish I did. Yeah. But became legal, and then on that side, they're ranchers, and we had a lot of ranches, horse ranches, cattle, and that I love that culture. And then my dad was in the Air Force, so we grew up actually in the same district that I'm represented.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm District 4, which is Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, and Phoenix. So I grew up right in that district. So it's so fun to go back. Even when I'm driving through, I can see my old neighborhood. So it's kind of fun.
That is fun. I grew up in this area where the church is. That's where I grew up too. So I understand that sentiment. And then you got elected in 2024 to the state house. And so just in general, I just want to explain how the state house and Senate works, right? So there are 30 districts in Arizona, right? And then 2 representatives. Each district, you get 2 state representatives and 1 state senator.
Right.
So you're one of the 2.
Yes, in District 4.
In District 4. And we're kind of, different states do it in a little bit of different ways, but explain like what our session, because we don't meet all year long, where you guys are hearing bills in specific months, and then if you can just kind of explain how that general year calendar looks for a state legislator.
Also, I just want to dovetail on what you were asking before. My background is in health and fitness.
Okay.
I own the largest sports medicine and weight training facility in the nation here in Scottsdale, and then I went on to host a Christian TV show, and then worked for President Trump in the 2020 election,
I remember.
Which was really, really good training for what I'm doing now. So basically, we work, I don't know, for me, I work a lot. I work around the clock. Our session starts in January, and it's supposed to end probably around May or June. Right now we're hearing about 800 bills in the House of Representatives, and we hear them in committees. This is called a committee. So we have different committees. We have, I'm on public safety and law enforcement, transportation infrastructure, which is all about our roads and building our infrastructure, and then energy, water, and that. So.
And how many people are on a committee, roughly?
Well, it depends.
They vary. I know they vary.
We right now have a Republican majority. So the chairman normally try and have maybe one member more in our majority on a committee, so it could be 5-4, just in case there is an issue with the vote.
Right, so that there's not a
So they
stalemate.
have to, once it goes to a committee, and the chairmen are in charge of the committees, so they can choose which bills they want here
Right.
each session. And if your bill is chosen, then the sponsor, they're called a sponsor. Right now I have about 8 bills that I'm sponsoring. And then the chairman will choose if they want to hear your bill. It's called hearing. And you'll go into that committee and present your case. It's really kind of like being in court because
Yeah.
you have jurors. I like to like to see it as a jury of
Yeah.
your peers. And then you explain why the bill is important, why you think it should be passed, and then you can call 2 to 3 witnesses to testify on your behalf. So that's called a request to speak.
Yeah.
Now, I like to choose my witnesses for the bill. There could be others that sign in, and I know you did something on request to
Yeah.
speak, and that's really important for our constituents here to know about, is that you are able, as a voter, to come down to the Capitol and speak on why you are for this bill, why you think it's bad for Arizona, bad for your district, or bad for your community. I have three things that I always like to look at. Is it good for Arizona? Is it good for the people? And number 3, is it necessary?
Yeah.
We have a lot of bills that in my opinion, are not necessary, though they may be brought by a constituent. Sometimes they're in the big scheme of things.
Right.
Actually, local government, Debbie, to answer your question, is in some ways more important than our
I
federal
agree.
government.
I
Because
100%
we
agree.
affect school boards, we affect our state.
Yeah.
And I was just realizing the other day, I'm so blessed by God. I am a Christian. And
You've been a Christian for a long time, right?
Oh, 40 years.
Yeah.
40 years. And my heart is always to stand by my biblical principles.
Mm-hmm.
And there are several issues, I think, moral issues that I will not compromise on. Now, other things that may be important to one member but not to me, I try and look at their side of it. As long as it doesn't violate my moral code or biblical principles.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would never vote for an abortion bill.
Right.
I'm really strong on that, or targeting our kids with gender ideology and those sort of things.
Right.
So that's super important to me. And so they are heard by a committee. If they pass the committee, then it's up to the Speaker of the House. So we elect a Speaker of the House and then a President of the Senate. So once it goes through committee, passes committee, the Speaker can choose to put it on we call it the board. Mm-hmm. Which is the whole caucus will vote on it,
Right.
Democrat and Republican. So we need at least 31 votes in the majority in order to get it passed, and then it goes on to the same process. Then you redo the process, and it will go over to the Senate.
Right.
Right.
And go through committee and go through the
Right.
whole thing. And
the same process.
then if it passes both, it goes to the governor, and she
can either veto.
She's been vetoing a lot of things.
Yeah. Right.
But going back to what you were saying, I think what you said a minute ago, and I do say this a lot, but I agree with you that state government is so, so important, and it's very overlooked. People don't really pay attention, and I don't know if people even know that there is a Speaker of the House in Arizona and there is a President of the Senate,
Right.
Because that just doesn't really get a lot of attention,
Right.
what's happening. But if you have, you said, and I just, this really struck me, that you said that there are 800 bills right now this
Right.
year.
Right.
So that's in 1 year, 800 bills that could potentially affect our lives, specifically in Arizona.
Right.
The way that we do business, the way that what we can do ministry-wise. taxes, schools, all those things.
Absolutely.
That those have a big effect. Now, not all of those are going to make it over the finish line. I'm sure a big percentage of them don't, because they don't make it through committee, or they're double, they're duplicate bills that get merged together, or
right,
one gets pulled.
exactly.
And yeah.
Very good.
So there's a lot of things that happen with those bills, but still that is a lot of potential change to our state happening every single year in the state legislature. And very few, I think, regular citizens are paying attention. It's always been I've paid a lot of attention. That's kind of how I got my, like my feet wet in the political sphere, was following people around the Capitol and just going down and sitting in on hearings and listening to bills. And so I really got a taste. Well, I was like, I don't want to be in the state legislature. I just want to tell them what to do. That's what
Exactly.
I want to train people to, pay attention. But because we'll talk in a minute about what that actually entails. Like, we were talking before we were on air about how hard it is you can't really work when you're doing that. We'll talk about that in a minute, but if there's so many things that are happening, it is really important that we have people down there who are taking the time to read through things and thoughtfully listen and go through those bills. And it's important that we have Christians there.
Absolutely.
Because what I always say is, if we're not engaged, we're leaving that to people who are not operating. You were saying you have things that are absolute hard line. You wouldn't vote to promote abortion, right? As an example. But if you have only people in office that are not operating out of a biblical worldview, then you have a very skewed, view, and you get, it reflects that in our state laws. We've been fortunate, I think, that for years we've had a pretty strong majority of people who are operating out of a biblical worldview in the state legislature. I mean, obviously those are mixed faiths, but those moral lines, we've been able to pass pro-life laws and school choice and things that are down there that are important from a biblical standpoint.
I think school choice, really, if you look at school choice, and I know we get a lot of blowback from the left on school choice, but if you think about it, it's parents' rights to choose educationally where they want their children to go to school, what they want them to learn.
Right.
And a lot of the ideology in some of our, not all, some of our public schools, it does have some left-leaning curriculum. So we always try...
Blatantly so.
Yeah, blatant, yeah. Some not so blatant. But
some is more subtle, and some is just in your face. Yeah.
So I always vote for the pro-choice situation, because I feel like parents have that right to choose the education for their kids.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I always tell people that, okay, we really have to guard that state legislature and make sure that we're getting a family-friendly majority, right? So I'm not talking Republican, Democrat. I'm saying we need a pro-family, pro-school choice, pro-life majority in the legislature, because if they could flip it and get the House and the Senate and the governor, school choice would be the first thing on the chopping block. They would get rid of ESAs in a heartbeat if they could, and then all of the pro-life laws would go. That's my gut.
Right. Well, we do have a few parameters. As you know, Prop 139 was passed by the voters, which was really disheartening for a lot of the pro-life
It was deceptive,
people.
too.
Yes, it was. And I think messaging... we do have a couple of bills that we're hearing in the House to protect some of the other rights that, that we can, anything we can do to kind of curtail some of the partial birth, abortion, and that sort of thing. So
those propositions are really important.
They are. And then, pro-business.
Yeah. I
was a business owner here. I was sharing. I owned a sports medicine and weight training facility here. And so for 10 years. So it's super important to protect our businesses.
Right.
And have low taxes.
Because that keeps people here.
Yes.
Helps us to have a thriving economy.
Right,
helps families to be strong.
Right.
right? If we don't have that. So it's things like security, both police and federal, like immigration security. It's business friendly. It's school choice, parental rights, pro-life. Those things are all really important.
I think we really did well last session and passing our immigration laws and to protect our borders, which, I really support our police and law enforcement officers. We also voted to fund them, with a little bit of a raise. I'd like to do more. And then to make sure that they can do their job. Yeah. And so super important.
And getting back to what you said, I just want to make sure we touch on this, that the state, there is a website, azledge.gov, and on there you can watch all of these committee hearings. Yes. They have current ones that are happening live, and then they also have a backlog of things that you can pull up and watch. Right. They have lists of when things are in committees. They have lists of bills. They have lists of, like, if you pull up your name on the House, it'll show all the bills that you sponsor and co-sponsor. Right. It does that for everybody. So if you are curious about what your state representatives or your state senator is promoting and supporting, it's very easy to see on there because you just go to either the Senate or the House and pull up the members, and it lists their background. It lists what bills they're supporting on there, and then you can click on that and read the bill so that you know what it is. And as you were saying about RTS, right to speak, you have to go down to, this is one of the things that we do periodically throughout the year, is do these tours of the Capitol. And Representative Carter, you've been so gracious. I've called on you a couple of times to come and host us there, and you help us to get it scheduled and get in there and make sure we're not given a hard time by security. We ran really into protesters that last time. There was that planned chaos on the 30th. That was an interesting day. But you going down and just trying to see the Capitol, you have to sign in the first time on site at the Capitol to get an account. Yes. But once you have an account that's activated, you can follow bills, sign in on bills from home. So I, as a constituent, as a voter in Arizona, I can follow bills. I can say, yes, I give this a thumbs up or a thumbs down. You can voice your opinion on bills.
Yes, you can. But again, when you show up in person as a committee person on 3 committees, it really does, if you're in support of the bill, even if you don't speak, just your physical presence, because a lot of people are they're scared of speaking. Yeah. But if you just show up and we can see you're for the bill and you're here, you may not want to speak, and you can have a choice when you go in there. Yes, I want to speak. If necessary is another one, which if you're a little skittish about it, you can be an if necessary. And then if we don't have enough speakers, we can call on you, and you can still refuse. Just say you're not comfortable speaking. I did have 2 bills, though. I did want to say that I did get 2 bills passed and signed by the governor.
Oh, wow.
Yes. One was for our clean...
That's quite a feat, I think.
It was. It was great. One was for our clean elections. Okay. And then another one for more transparency on our clean elections. And then for our military. To have a tax break for our deployed military members. If they're out of Arizona, they get a break on some of their taxes. Wow. So that was fun. Yeah. Yeah, I was excited about that. And then I'm sponsoring several bills this time as well.
Yeah, and we're gonna touch on a couple of those at the end of that too. So it is. I'm glad you mentioned that about coming down in person, because that is something that I did a lot. I haven't recently because it's just my schedule is really crazy, but I do love to go down and sit in on those. I mean, I used to take my kids when they were little. They would come sit with me in those hearings, and we would listen. Yeah. And you really do learn a lot about the way the process works by just sitting in and listening to the way that these bills are discussed and the kinds of things that they say, and you start to hear the same language being repeated over and over again. So and you can sit in that room and pray quietly while you're,
we love it.
Yeah.
We always welcome that.
And Senator Nancy Bartow used to always invite me to come down. She would always alert me when pro-life bills were coming, and she would have us come down and we just sit in there and pray. And, I've spoken on a couple of bills as well. One in my capacity as being a board member on Choices Pregnancy Centers.
You've been amazing. Debi is an amazing advocate for us. We always love seeing your smiling face there because we know, yay, she's for us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And we appreciate you. It's good to have Christians in office and
Absolutely.
people who are not crazy. Like, there's some of them that like, okay, some people, I say that, but there's sometimes people who may agree with us on things and it's like, okay, I like the way that you vote, but I would rather you not say so many things because you don't sound really good. But that's just my personal opinion. But
I get it.
you have kind of a mix of things that are going down there. But you're a good representative and a good representation of who we are and what we believe and what we stand
thank
for.
you
And
for that.
and you've, like I said, you've been very helpful as far as when we've tried to go down and bring groups to tour and. We just did one. It was amazing. We prayed in the gallery, and
That was really fun.
it's amazing. It's really great. So watch for when we do another one of those because it's great. If you have not gone down there to the Capitol, that's a great thing. I want to talk about bills, but what led you to? Because I know you're a person of faith. So what made you decide to run for office?
Well, one of the scriptures I like is the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But Jesus said, I have come that they might have life and have it more abundantly. And then the other scripture is Psalm 89, which that's John 10:10. And then Psalm 89, righteousness and justice are the foundation of his throne. Loving kindness and truth go before his face. I worked on a couple of congressional campaigns. One of my friends was running for Congress. We went out and, that's another thing. People don't realize how hard it is to run for office.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that
We have to
next,
gather, up to 1,000 signatures many times. If you're
just
running
for a state
for a
legislature
state,
off,
and if you're running for like a, Secretary of State or one of the governor, you have to gather thousands. And so you either have to pay someone to go out and get those for you. I like to go to events and just get, meet the people and have them sign. Or you can sign online as well.
Yeah.
Go to your state rep or whoever you would like to sign their petition, and then you have to turn those in. In fact, I wanted to share with you, I think we're going to pass a bill that our election is going to be two weeks earlier than it was last. That is already scheduled. It will be the same as 24, but they were trying to move it up. So we'll see how that goes. I did vote yes to do that. But
the primaries, is that what you mean?
Primary, yeah. Probably in July.
Well, and that's something, too, I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's a primary election where all of the people from the same party are running against each other.
Yes.
So you have a bunch of Republicans, right, running against each other to get those two spots that will go on the and same with the Democrats are running against each other to get those spots of who will be on the November ballot.
Right.
So it's important to vote in both of those to make sure that you vote in the primaries. We'll have information at Dream City. We've already got it, in the works. But about when those dates are and make sure people are registered to vote and that kind of thing.
So I worked on a couple of congressional campaigns, and we were out getting signatures and walking and knocking on doors. That's another thing. Sometimes in 115 degrees, 110 right before the primary, it's very
brutal.
grueling to run for office.
It is.
And so when I get a lot of criticism, I like to say, okay, you guys want to criticize, why don't you go and run for office? Then I think you'll have a little more compassion about how hard it is.
Yeah,
and then you have to raise money because
it takes
you have to
money.
pay. You have to, pay for your signs. I call them my signs, wonders, and miracles. Put up signs, saying that you're running, and we can put those up. I think it is 90 days before the election, and that's
physical labor to either do it yourself or get people to put them out.
I did do that when I ran for Scottsdale City Council. We were out there pounding our own sign. It's grueling.
It is.
But anyway, it was fun. And I can't tell you the amount of people I've met along the campaign trail. And I just love meeting my constituents and hearing their views and, okay, what can I do to help? And, I love that's one of the things I really did enjoy. So I started in congressional campaign, and then I was appointed to be the faith director for the state of Arizona. I was one of the state directors for President Trump in 2020. And I reached out on Women for Trump, Pro-Life Voices, and then for the faith engagement communities. So reached out to the churches. And that's what I really appreciate, Deb, that you're doing, is a lot of churches don't realize it's not against the law.
Right.
You could even endorse a candidate now.
Right.
If you wish. And most pastors, they have to be a little wise about that. But you can promote, you need to go vote. I think those are really good for churches to get involved. It was a little more difficult in 2020.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think it's getting easier, and a lot of churches are realizing the importance now of civil engagement.
Yes. And so, and I think, Prop 139 passing went a long way to doing that. It really, people were shocked that passed, pastors and...
Right.
So, and also too, so it does require a lot of work and then even during the session, if you're talking about going from January to June and you're working, almost 7 days a week, it's difficult to have you really can't have an outside job during that 6-month period. So that's another factor that goes into running for office is you either have to have the income or have a business that can kind of run on its own for that 6 months while you're
You really have to have two incomes because what they pay,
it's not
pay
much.
is $24,000 a year,
Right.
which isn't enough for a family to live on,
Right.
if that's all you do.
Right.
But you do it out of love for Arizona,
Yeah.
being a fourth-generation native here. I love Arizona. I've seen the changes growing up here, and it was so family-friendly, being able to walk anywhere.
Yes.
I don't know, our parents used to send us out to ride our bikes, and we didn't come home until it
Till the
was
lights
turning.
came on.
Yeah.
The street lights would come on, and that was your signal to come home, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, we could pretty much, we walked to school, and now it just really isn't safe for kids to be out like that. And, parents are kind of realizing that now, so that's why I really want to protect our kids.
Yeah. And with that, just before we finish up here, I know that you have a couple of bills that you're working on right now that you're super passionate about, just to kind of give, people an idea of the types of things that you can do legislatively, the types of bills that you can help with. I know you had said you have two that are really near and dear to your heart. If you can just give us a really quick little synopsis of those.
Yes.
So we can have an idea of the types of bills.
The first bill is called, I met with a mom whose son committed suicide 2 years ago. And she wanted this, he was online. And nobody said anything. He was online all one night with some friends, 12 of his peers, and nobody said anything to an adult, nothing. And she found him the next morning.
Wow.
Cade Keller. And so she came into my office and wanted to know if I would do something for kids and the issue of teen suicide. A lot of kids are so hopeless, Deb.
Yeah.
They have nowhere to turn. I know myself, we had a family member who had those, who actually attempted, and it's prevalent in our teens more than we know.
Yeah.
That where they have those suicidal thoughts, there's hopelessness. If they don't, but I was so blessed because I had someone from Young Life that came, and when I was in high school, and they took me to a Young Life meeting, and I was able to get a little more footing in my life. My parents were going through a divorce, so I think a lot of single-family homes, fatherless generation, that sort of thing. Now, this will create a law. It's named after her son, Cade's Law. If you see something, say something.
Yeah. And
that's to make people aware of the online aspect. We already had a law in 21. Jeff Winiger did it, called Jake's Law. but if an adult targets a teen,
Right,
then it
if
was
they're
considered
being targeted to encourage suicide.
Now, and then that led me to my second bill. Now that's 2665. Then my second bill, 2666, is sexual extortion, which these kids get online. They have an adult over 18 that is targeting them for sexual favors. They're coercing them to have to meet for sex.
To send pictures.
Yes, send pictures, and then they blackmail them basically with the photos. If you don't give me money, if you don't, meet me, and they team up, and then and a lot of these are.
And that can lead to suicide too. There's been
well,
cases
we've
of
had
suicide.
two or three that have actually sued Meta, sued some of these other.
Right.
I don't know if it was Meta, but it was one of the online platforms. So that's what. So I added the language of sexual extortion being a Class 2 felony, and with no probation, no. It is a mandatory sentence, and
you increased the age too, right? Because it was only 15 and under, or under
14,
15.
Yeah, and then the county attorney, I'm working with her on this, and she wanted to include 15, 16, 17-year-olds.
So it's all minors.
They are the one. Yeah, anybody under 18
Right.
now. It is considered a Class 2 felony.
Which I think it should be.
It should be.
Yeah.
Tougher laws.
Right. But they're minors. So,
yes, they're still
yeah.
minors. And then they're a lot of the older ones, too, have the Cash Apps and Venmo,
Right.
and they can more easily access
targeted,
those.
yeah.
Yeah. And then,
Yeah.
it's a huge
Because you still don't have the
situation.
wisdom. And we did just if anybody who's listening wants to go back to, we did an episode last year with Peter Gentala.
I saw that. It
talking
was so
specifically
good.
about sextortion and some of the things that are going on nationally with that. But that would be also good, more information on that topic.
Yes.
But yeah, that's a really great, important. Those are both really important
But
things.
this will make it illegal in Arizona.
Right.
And
This is specifically Arizona.
Yes, and I do believe both of my bills will be signed.
Yeah.
Well,
they should be.
They should be.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of Republican support for both of those.
Yeah.
And then I'm working on several other ones too. But
that's good, yeah.
But these are the ones that I'm really passionate about, protecting our kids online.
Yeah.
I think it's super important.
Yeah.
So-
Well, and we're gonna wrap up here in just a second, but we'll put in the show notes. I'll put the AZ Ledge website
Yes.
for people to get on there.
Okay.
We can link those two bills on there too.
That would be wonderful if I can get some
Yeah.
support for those. Just
I'll link
sign
those,
in
the
and
language of those
yes,
bills.
and just in support. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
And I would really appreciate prayer.
Yeah.
Prayer. We are
pray
under a lot of spiritual warfare every
Yeah.
single day.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
we do it happily because we love Jesus and we love our state. So.
Yes, and this year being an election year, I would just really encourage people, especially believers, to pay more attention to what's happening at the state level. Pay attention to who's running. Make sure you're voting in the primaries. Make sure you're paying attention. I'll also link how you can get on and look to see who's running in your district, so that you
great.
can sign petitions. And that's one of the things that we always encourage people to do is to, if you find a candidate in your district, so whether that's school board, city council, state legislature, U.S. Senate, whatever you want to do, if you find a candidate that you really like, go, you were just talking about all that need for help for signature collecting and signs and all those things. There's lots of work that needs to be done
Yes,
with those.
volunteer.
And that's a really great way to kind of get a little bit more involved and learn how those things happen, is find somebody that's running in your district that you really love. I mean, we kind of have a broad reach, so there's lots of, but if you find somebody that you like, help that person during the election season, because it really is important. And there is a lot to do in those. So yeah, we always encourage any kind of civic engagement.
Electioneering. During the primaries, standing
Right.
out there, you hand out literature to
On election day.
On election day,
Yeah.
that helps us a lot more than you know. People going in, oh, okay, I didn't know about her.
Yeah, if
And
you've ever
sometimes-
gone in person to vote,
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
stand there, you see all these
Right.
people handing out information. They need
Yeah.
people to do that too. That's what she's talking about with that. It's wonderful. But yeah, thank you so much for taking time. I
Oh,
know
my pleasure.
You're super busy this time of year, and I
Yeah.
appreciate you taking the time to come
Well,
talk to us.
thank you, and God bless your work here. Thank you to Dream City Church. You're civically engaged. I just love your pastors and love the work you do here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us on Into the Fire, powered by Dream City Church.
Thank you.
You can listen to this podcast on Apple and Spotify and follow us on social media to find all the info on the show notes. To learn more about Dream City Church, visit our website at dreamcitychurch.us. Thanks for listening.